everybody. Welcome back to the Think About It channel. Today, we're doing a segment called Hustle, where we interview entrepreneurs in the South Jersey and Philly area. Today, I have a very lovely and special guest, Kevin Finn. Kevin's an educator, trainer, author, and table tennis enthusiast. He has his master's degree in education with a specialization in applied behavioral analysis. His brand, Peak Performance Table Tennisist, specializes in training athletes not only in the game of table tennis, but also in overall fitness as well as sports psychology. Hi, Kev.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. So
I
let's just go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say I don't think I've ever been described as lovely before, so I'm feeling quite flattered.
Well, I have been living as you for years now, and it's been lovely.
Yes, yes.
So for those of you
Likewise.
that don't know, Kevin and I used to work together. With my last name being Fink and his last name being Finn, I was mistaken more for him than he was for me, and rightly so.
Yeah, it's happened more than once. It's always an honor to be called Fink.
So, how long have you been playing table tennis?
So, if we're gonna differentiate ping pong from table tennis,
We can do that. Let's
table, t
establish that.
yeah, because ping pong, it's like the same story as most American kids. Like maybe, it's hard to place exactly. Sometime at youth group, when I was probably under 10 years old, or just here and there at gym and at school. But I started going to a table tennis club when I was around 17. So, not to age myself, but over 20 years now. And that was the West Jersey Table Tennis Club in Pennsauken. And I'm still going there. I'm on the board now and love it. It's a great club. Highly recommended. So, just over 20 years as a more serious kind of table tennis enthusiast.
So would you say when you were 17, that was sort of the moment where you're like, hey, we're going to make this something serious in my life, or did that happen later?
Oh, I would say it happened much later. I came in, like many ping pong basement heroes, quite cocky, and was immediately humbled by probably, I want to say, at least an 80-year-old man named Phil, who was a veterinarian and just stood at the table, didn't move anything but his hand, and just completely destroyed me. And, from there on out, it was just loss after loss. It didn't matter if it was a younger girl, woman, man. It like table tennis is the most humbling of sports. And so what that did was it really just opened my eyes to how deep the pool is and just like what actual real table tennis looks like, the spin, the speed, the tactics. And so it was just a slow grind from there of just falling in love with the sport, but definitely not something I ever considered pursuing professionally.
So you've obviously, just by the way you talk about table tennis, you've put a lot of time and thought and research into your craft. And a couple years ago, around the same time my book came out, you published your book as well, which is on table tennis, and we'll put links to it in the description. Um, so tell us about the process of writing your book, and the time you put into it, and the types of research you put into it, and how sort of that process went.
Sure. So back in like 2011, 2012, I actually really started getting serious about my health and nutrition and fitness journey. I started a blog called Fitness Walkthrough, and I was doing a lot of research in that area. And over the years, I became certified as a personal trainer and started picking up different certifications. And I was really just helping people lose weight, get fit, get healthy, improve their nutrition, improve their energy levels, and just feel great and be able to perform better. And this had, nothing to do with table tennis per se, just normal personal trainer type stuff. But all along the way, I was still interested in table tennis and still going to the club here and there. And I noticed every other sport, you go to the Barnes and Noble or you go online and there's like, here's sports science for tennis or golf or football, basketball. Every other sport had these great books with special workouts for the sport and how to train optimally and how to optimize your nutrition and what supplements to take and everything. And for table tennis, there was just nothing. And I was like, that's kind of weird. So I put out a free ebook called The Table Tennis Player's Guide to Health and Fitness. And actually don't even remember when I put this out, maybe 2015 or 2016 or something. And I just put that out for free. I put a Google Drive link and people would just take it. In hindsight, not a very smart business decision. I could have been grabbing emails and building my subscriber base. So for people out there trying to learn business skills, learn from my mistakes. Yeah, get that email at least, right? It's a fair trade because this was like a serious book. I had scientific citations. It was, you know, pretty chunky. And anyway, I'm still training people on the side, in addition to teaching. And I noticed that all of my cold traffic was for this book, this ebook that I put out. My personal training business was doing okay, but it was mostly just friends and family and coworkers and just people kind of connected to me in some way. But with this table tennis ebook, I was getting complete strangers from other countries, and it was getting some talk on the table tennis forums. And so I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And as I kind of continued along noticing that, I started to shop around the book idea to different publishers. And my pitch was kind of like, look, there's not really another book like this on the market. There's plenty of table tennis books. And I'm very clear that I myself am not a super high level table tennis player. I'm not a technical coach. That I don't teach people how to play table tennis. I'm a trainer. I'm a performance coach where I'm helping them improve their physicality and nutrition and psychological skills training, things along those lines that they can incorporate alongside of their actual table tennis technical training. And so I actually got a few bites from publishers because it was such a novel idea, no pun intended. And so I ended up getting, that's where Peak Performance Table Tennis came from. So my book, shameless plug.
Love shameless plugs.
So Meyer and Meyer Sport, it's a German publisher, ended up, um, I ended up working with them, and it's been a great experience. And I launched Peak Performance Table Tennis, kind of as a sister company to Fitness Walkthrough, and that's my table tennis specific online training platform that I have for people.
So, how is the brand now branched out besides just the book? What else are you doing under the Peak Performance umbrella?
Yeah, so I really just kind of seamlessly married the systems that I was already using with online clients. So, given the fact that I still teach during the day, I had established a number of systems that I work with people online asynchronously. So, I'm sending them workouts, we're checking in, we're doing kind of calls like this where we're chatting and talking about their training. And so I just use that system for table tennis players. And so I offer online training and nutrition where it's like one-to-one bespoke programming, custom training and nutrition plans, and we work together very intensely. I look at their form videos that they send me. I offer analysis and feedback and just help them stay accountable and motivated to get in the gym, do what they need to do to improve physically. I also offer some group training programs that are priced a little cheaper, and it's not customized to people, but it's solid workouts that people can do on their own time, and they get a training app to follow and track their workouts with. And then I offer consultations over the phone. I've worked a little bit with certain table tennis companies like Yola, doing some content creation for them, and I've affiliated with some other table tennis manufacturers who make ping pong robots that people can train with on their own. And then I've also collaborated with some other table tennis coaches to either create content or do some specific challenges where people can sign up and they can work on table tennis specific skills via the coach and then have a workout from me. So Craig Bryant would be a good example of a table tennis coach I've worked with quite a bit the past couple years, and we have something called the Serve and Sweat Challenge. So he specializes in helping people really improve their serve, and I specialize in the workouts, obviously. And it's nice because we're not really stepping on each other's toes in terms of, I don't teach serves and I don't teach the table tennis technical skills, and he doesn't do workouts. So we're able to market in a very, you know, symbiotic way where it's a win for both of us and we provide a lot of value for a good price to everyone who participates. So that's been really good as well.
Very cool. That sounds like a really cool partnership.
Yeah, yeah, it's been
Uh,
good.
how has your educational background? Because you're a very educated man. The people
I
might not know
am.
that off the bat. But how has that shaped your own performance as an athlete and the philosophy behind your brand?
Yeah, maybe a little too educated with these student loans still hanging over my head. Yeah. So interestingly, I wouldn't say that my education, like my master's in education, helped me all that much, but because of that, I'd say my teaching career has been much more helpful. In fact, more helpful than many of the training specific certifications that I've gotten. So, because I had the master's in education and I'm certified as a teacher, I was able to get a job as a teacher. And that experience has been surprisingly helpful in making me a better coach because it's given me a lot of soft skills that I probably lack and am still working on in terms of just being a little more social, being a better communicator. I'm naturally very introverted. I keep to myself. My default is just to like not talk to anyone. Be alone writing somewhere in a cabin in the woods would be my dream. Maybe you can relate. Well, you're a little more social than I am, I think. But anyway, so being a teacher has gotten me a little more comfortable in front of a group and talking and lecturing, which I've done a few performance clinics here and there. And I found myself able to do better than I probably would have otherwise because it just felt like, oh, wait, this is kind of like me in front of a class, just a small group of people. And then being in special education, I spent quite a bit of time getting training in ABA. So that behavior analysis piece has been very useful because often in the context we're dealing with a student with an IEP, an individualized education plan, and we're looking to reduce certain behaviors and increase certain other behaviors. And it's not too far a cry from actually helping people improve their health and fitness. It's the same thing. We're dealing with behaviors. And so little tricks that I learned from ABA, which is like if you have a negative behavior you're trying to get rid of, you need to have a replacement behavior, a positive behavior that you replace that with, and that's going to make it more successful. And just things like motivational interviewing and kind of Socratic method of talking to people and getting information from them and giving them more autonomy instead of always just telling them the answers and telling them things and preaching at them. Those things have helped me out, I think, as a coach.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So you recently, and when I say recently, I mean the past handful of months, started a podcast. And I know I found it on YouTube, but I'm sure you can find it wherever you find podcasts. What can you tell us about the new podcast, and what can people sort of look to take away from it in the future?
Yeah, this has been an interesting experiment. For season one of this podcast, I'm looking to do about 12 episodes. And it all started because I was playing around with these large language models and experimenting with the various, ChatGPT and Claude and all these other cool AI tools. And I'm finding they're pretty lacking still. They are often very confidently wrong, and it's quite frustrating. Like the way they say things is so authoritative, and then you point out a mistake that they make, and they're like, "Oh, you're right. Good catch." Blah, blah, blah. And then they just completely change their answer, and it's like, "Well, what are we doing here? Like, this is not good." So when you're talking about something you don't know anything about, it's great. Maybe, hopefully, it's right. It's hard to vet the information, but when you're talking about something that you are pretty knowledgeable in, I hesitate to say expert, but you have a fair degree of knowledge, you can start to see some of the holes. And so, what I was looking to do was train an AI on just my materials. So everything would be vetted because it's coming from me and there'd be fewer artifacts and things just being made up and it's not pulling from other sources. And so I fed an AI my entire book and my emails that I send out. I have a free monthly research review where I go over the latest research relating to table tennis and sport performance. And the platform I used for that is something Google put out called Notebook LM. And I was using that and I noticed they had these audio overviews, which is a podcast style um, breakdown of the material you give it. And so that gave me the idea to start this podcast. So I introduce each episode, but then I have AI co-hosts talk about the subject matter. And in this first season, the subject matter is my book. I thought this is it's actually a sports science book and it's kind of dense. So I had an idea of me doing an audiobook perhaps, but it just didn't seem like it would translate too well. It's not like a nice fictional narrative that you can get lost in, like your story. Um, and so I thought that these AI overviews would just break down, pull out the most important information, and talk about it in a very conversational, easy to listen to way. And so that's the whole thrust of this first season. Episodes are 10 to 20 minutes, so easy to listen to on a short commute. And because it's the AI co-host having the conversation, I'm able to work on it here and there in kind of in a piecemeal manner and patch it together and publish it, which works well for my busy schedule. Because currently, scheduling calls like this and doing face-to-face interviews with an actual person is kind of tough to pull off. I've got three kids,
Mhm.
still teaching. I'm running the two businesses. And so while I can do it here and there, which is great, I didn't feel like I could commit to a whole season just yet. So this was a way for me to learn the tools and figure out how to actually distribute a podcast. And it's been good so far. Feedback has been good, positive comments. Yeah, it's been fun.
I know I've listened to a few episodes of the podcast, like walking the dog or with my daughter in the stroller
Hmm.
or whatever. And it's like, you think about like, I'm going to listen to an AI podcast, like, oh boy, it's going to be pretty dry, but like, it's pretty good. Like, if you,
Yeah.
like, and then I played a clip to my wife, and she was like, if you didn't tell me this was AI, I probably would have thought these were just two people talking about Kevin Finn and table tennis.
Yeah,
Um,
it's scary. I mean, even in like a couple years, who knows
mhm.
what's going to happen. Now, I do have to do a fair amount of editing. Like the AI gets weird sometimes. Like they'll start doing really weird things. So I have to sometimes I'll generate multiple takes and piece together the best parts. So it still takes some work. It's not like click and it's done. I do have to work through it and edit it still. But it is amazing how natural and realistic it is. But in the podcast, I wanted to be clear. I introduced each episode, and I don't want to like try to trick anyone. I'm like, these are AI co-hosts, but they're talking about my book, and I'm vetting the information. So it's um it's very upfront in that way.
I will also make a comment. You mentioned about your book being dense. I think a nice thing about your book is, I'll admit I haven't read it cover to cover. Um, but it is nice in the fact that I was able to sort of jump around to different spots and find things that, as a non-table tennis player and as a non-athlete at this point in my life, there were things that's like, oh, I could implement this just to make myself mentally better or more mentally more healthy. So while I feel like the name table tennis is on the book and it is a science and research based book, I think there's stuff in there for everybody. I really do.
Yeah, thanks. So one of the dirty secrets of the strength and conditioning world is that most people should generally be doing kind of the same stuff, whether you're an athlete or not. And there's, most people are looking to be within a healthy body fat range. You want to be able to move well, to, build some muscle, to eat well and be healthy. And the fundamental principles that get you to those places are the same. Now, the devil's in the details, and there's lots of room for customization. But yeah, because my book takes a holistic look at feeling better, performing better, getting stronger, faster, losing weight, being, getting in a better headspace before a match, there are lots of parallels to just living a better life in general, and that apply to anyone. Certainly in other sports, but I mean, even if you're just, oh, I'm gonna have kids one day, or I do have kids, or I want to be able to play with my grandkids, these principles still apply. Like you kind of use it or lose it, and so a lot of people don't realize how beneficial some of this more athletic style training could be when scaled properly. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of parallels, I'm going to do my own little cute little segue here. You may be one of the biggest Star Wars people I know. There's a lot of Star Wars references in your vocabulary and
Mhm.
your everyday speech and your everyday thoughts. So do you find yourself blending a lot of Star Wars references into the work you do?
Oh yeah. I mean, no, what gave it away here? This is what I practice my serves um in
Yes.
R2D2 here.
R2 serve 2.
Yes, yes, that's a good one. Um yeah, I kind of so as I alluded to earlier, my natural state is to be very quiet and share nothing about myself at all. Um I'm just, very kind of private and introverted. And so I decided to like I've always been a Star Wars fan, and so including that as part of my brand was kind of a actual overt choice. I mean, like let me just try to show a little personality because I can tend to be a little plain and straight to the point otherwise. And so yeah, my Instagram, I have my name, but then I also put Table Tennis Jedi, and I have like a little sign off, may the spin be with you. It's table tennis allowed to spin. So yeah, that's been a part of my brand. But oddly, um, from a business standpoint, you might worry about alienating certain people if so show your personality. But as many people as you may alienate, first of all, most people just don't care. It's like whatever. But like, let's say there's a fringe few that you alienate, you're also going to attract people. And one of the other big table tennis uh, social media personalities is a guy named Matt Hetherington, who is also a huge Star Wars fan. And I didn't know this when I started doing the Star Wars stuff. I just happened to realize it once we started chatting naturally. And so we were actually able to connect on that level. And that relationship has been a great one. I've learned a lot from him. He works for Yola. That's been one of the ways in which I've worked with the Yola brand. And he's one of my sponsored athletes now. I help him out with his own training and nutrition. So you never know. You put yourself out there a little bit and it can come back in cool ways sometimes.
Well, the force has been with you.
Yes, it has.
So I have like one or two more questions to try to wrap it up. I'm going to keep them a little bit lighthearted. Do you have a Star Wars hot take you can share with us?
Um,
So I know Star Wars is in a little bit of controversial waters now with stuff not being good or being good. Do you have a Star Wars hot take?
so the fan base is right now, I'm not sure it would count as a hot take. Kathleen Kennedy actually just stepped down or announced she's stepping down this year. So she's been the one in charge of Star Wars. Um, I think her tenure over Star Wars has been terrible. I think it'll go down as one of the most historic mishandlings of an IP ever. It's been an absolute disaster. So I'm super happy that she's going. I hope they start improving things. I wouldn't say that's a hot take though, because probably more than half the fan base, especially people who like George Lucas Star Wars, feel that way. For a true hot take, I would say, although I fully acknowledge Empire Strikes Back is a superior movie from a acting, writing, directing, everything standpoint, I prefer Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi has just a special place in my heart. I've always liked it. The Ewoks don't bother me. I love the Jabba stuff at the beginning. I love the throne room, Luke and Vader reconciling the Emperor, everything about it. It just hits me in the feels. So I put Return of the Jedi above Empire Strikes Back, which is somewhat sacrilegious, I would say, among Star Wars fans. So that's my hot take.
I like it. I'm not a huge Star Wars person. I like Star Wars and I'll watch Star Wars and I know enough to make conversation. But my hot take would be episodes one, two, and three are not as bad as people. They're not as bad as people say they are.
Oh yeah,
Let's cut them some break. I think they're
they've
pretty
aged
good.
well.
Yeah,
They've
they're pretty
aged
good.
well, especially the third one.
Third one might be my favorite.
Oh yeah, well, Revenge of the Sith is, especially the second half, is quite good. It's amazing. It's up there for me. Um, but the world building, there's a lot that is great about episodes one and two. Also, I was middle school. I was at an age where I was young enough to just be totally blown away by the Phantom Menace, Darth Maul, like everything about it was just so cool. So like I have those rose-colored glasses of
Hmm.
my childhood to still enjoy the prequels. Had I seen the prequels as an adult, I would have probably been not as into it, but I was young enough at the time when they came out to really enjoy it. Yeah.
All
So
right,
I
so
agree with you on that.
I'll wrap things up here. So where can people who want to start playing table tennis, that like, because it's not like you can just go down to the local rec center and play table tennis. So people, if they are looking to get into table tennis or they play table tennis, maybe want to do it more organized, where in sort of the South Jersey, Philly area can they do that?
Yeah, so you actually might be surprised in terms of there's more places than people realize. It's kind
Oh,
of an underground scene. First rule of Fight Club. Well, there's table tennis club
mhm.
rules as well. I'll break a few of them here and give away some of the secrets. If you just Google it, there's quite a few. So Philly area, the Trolley Car Table Tennis Club is a popular one. South Jersey, the West Jersey Table Tennis Club, you cannot beat it in terms of affordability and just friendliness to beginners. We're a very friendly, opening, welcome club. Table tennis is the most inclusive sport. It's great to play year round. Men, women, young, old, everyone can play. And with the right skills and practice, you can be competitive. It's only really once you get to the professional level, the high levels, where things start to split a little more like most professional sports do. At the amateur level, you never know what you can be beaten by anyone. You
Mhm.
cannot judge a book by its cover, as I have found out the hard way many times.
Shout out to Phil.
So, yes, Phil, may he rest in peace. Yeah, he was a great guy. Um, so those are two clubs close by, and then there's also something I don't know if you've heard of Ping Pod.
I have not.
So Ping Pod is a really cool um, new thing that is basically like these little pop-up table tennis clubs that are fully self-sufficient. There's no staff there. So you just get the app and you book a session. You walk up to the door and it opens up and there's table tennis tables there
It's
and you
cool.
can play. So they have one for sure in Philadelphia. They have some in New York. They're growing like crazy. There's a lot of good locations throughout the country. So that's another option. Ping Pod, in terms of a like per session basis, is a little more expensive than I'd say your average club, especially like West Jersey Table Tennis Club. You're paying around $5, and you're there for the whole night, and you can play. We've got paddles and balls for you that you can use, or you could bring your own. Um, but it's table tennis in general is very accessible. So yeah, get out there and give it a shot. You'll definitely like it.
Very nice. I didn't realize that it was so accessible.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, well, you're still going to get humbled, but
Of course.
the cool thing is
Yeah.
once you like if you go and you're the worst player there, that's the best place to be
Yeah.
because you've got nowhere to go but up, and everyone you play, you're learning from, and you start to pick up the technique and learn how to spin the ball and how to counter the spin and everything. And so it's a great sport.
So where can people learn more about you, Kevin Finn, as well as the brand Peak Performance Table Tennis?
So peakperformancetabletennis.com would be my main central hub. That's my website. I have links. I have a lot of cool free resources that you just download. I've got the monthly email that I send out where I send a research review of the latest research. And then on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, I'm just at Peak Performance Table Tennis.
Very nice.
So yeah, those are the
Thank you
best
very
places.
much. I know you're a busy man between all the stuff you got going on. So thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule today to talk with me. And I'm excited to see what's next for Peak Performance.
Thanks, Adam. Good talking to you.